Hi folks, how are you doing? It's always a pleasure connecting and speaking with you on contemporary topics to do with life and careers, and I'm sure this is something which will interest you. And if that's the case, I'll probably urge you to hit the subscribe button. A very interesting contemporary topic to talk about today: revenge quitting, which is again an unforeseen trend in 2025. It is almost becoming a rage now. Revenge quitting is becoming a rage now due to a number of factors. And the big question is, so quiet quitting is gone. I think quiet quitting is something of the past, and revenge quitting is really taking the corporate world by storm. And India also is seeing a lot of revenge quitting. But what exactly is revenge quitting, and why should we be concerned about revenge quitting as organizations? And as individuals, is it okay to resort to revenge quitting? These are some of the points which we would probably quickly cover in this very short and informative podcast. Thanks for your time and thanks for joining. Revenge quitting is nothing but quitting with a lot of noise and making a lot of hue and cry about your resignation. That is the simplest form to put it. It is a very aggressive form of quitting. An employee resigning the organization and then going around the whole town telling the reasons as to why, the reasons which led him to quit the organization. This could be any reason. This could be probably lack of promotions, lack of employee engagement at the present employment, lack of promotional opportunities, lack of recognition, lack of basic workplace hygiene. Can be any factor which the employee chooses to attribute his resignation to, but the whole bottom line is he makes a lot of noise about a resignation. He goes on posts on social media, he shares his resignation letter with the electronic media, and probably even gives media interviews about his resignation, effectively giving one big punch on the employer brand with whom he was associated for a fairly long time, irrespective of whatever duration he's been with the present employer. Revenge quitting essentially means that he's probably giving one big punch on his just now former employer. So this practice is becoming an increasingly prevalent even in the Indian corporates, particularly in the IT sector. If you really look into why revenge quitting has probably taken corporate India by surprise, number one, and why it is really becoming a sudden new trend for 2025, I think we should attribute it to one single factor, which is the RTO, return to office mandate, which these IT companies had given to their employees sometime in the end of last year. We all are aware that right from the time COVID lockdown happened, and subsequent to that, work from home was a big flexibility given to employees across sectors, but predominantly the IT sector employees almost took it for granted that work from home will probably remain there for a fairly long time. Then, of course, things got better. The pandemic was no more existing, and the threat from a pandemic or something like that never happened. So gradually, these IT organizations or tech organizations, what they did is they designed what is called as a hybrid work model, where on a particular week, maybe 3 days, the employee can work from the office, but the remaining days, the employees can work from home. So a mix of work from office and work from home, as per the professional need, came to be known as a hybrid model. But the huge challenge as far as IT workforce in India, or the uniqueness of the Indian IT workforce, is that a lot of these IT graduates aren't really locals of the place of employment, if I use the right word. For example, if you pick up 100 IT employees in Bangalore and 100 IT employees in Pune, or 100 IT employees in Gurgaon or Chennai, I think maybe 20 of them are from that place, and the remaining 80% of them are from other places. They could be from remote villages, B and C class towns, different states. For example, Bangalore is home to people from Chennai, Hyderabad, even places as far as Bihar, Orissa and Jharkhand and things like that. So that composition of the workforce has become a huge pain point in both implementing the hybrid work model, as well as what is now brought about as a diktat in terms of a return to office model. Most of these people really found work from home very, very cushy. For example, somebody who's based in Jharkhand went back to Jharkhand for years together, maybe at least a couple of years, and from the comforts of his home in Jharkhand, attending to a number of his personal priorities as well, he was also trying to work in a full-time employment role with the IT organization. So this is the biggest comfort which this work from home model gave to such a large section of the workforce in India. And now with things getting better and IT organizations really holding these employees by the neck and telling them that unless otherwise you come back to work, we probably will sack you. I think only at that point, sometime in the end of last year, most of these employees have started returning to work, and there are in fact many multinational companies or foreign organizations which still continue to keep the hybrid mode in place. But what happens is, in a gist, this has given a huge advantage to people who enjoyed work from the comforts of their home. It also meant that they save a lot of additional money in terms of not necessarily the money saved from commuting from one place to another, the money saved from probably staying in a hostel or a paying guest or renting out an accommodation in the place of work. So essentially it was almost maybe additional 20-30% of savings on their base compensation, which was not there prior to the COVID pandemic. And such a huge cushion suddenly is vanishing into thin air because companies have now mandated RTO, return to office. So what happens is, there's already a lot of dissonance in these employees that, oh, I'm really going to find it very, very painful to get back to office. Okay. For an organization, they are perfectly right. In fact, it is legally right, ethically right for them to tell that, look, when we employed you in this organization, we employed you for a 5-day or a 6-day role or 70 or 100-hour work hours expectation and things like that. But today, because there were a lot of issues in between, a lot of pandemic issues, health-related issues, we gave you the flexibility. Now, we cannot give this flexibility anymore because our clients also are demanding that all our employees should come to office and things like that. So this is the compulsion on the part of the employer to make these employees come back to the office. On the other hand, the employees are feeling that a huge amount of flexibility is completely lost. So already, even in the first step of coming back to the office, there's tremendous amount of dissonance in these employees, number one. And number two, add to that, most of these organizations are now, probably thanks to the utterances of people like N.R. Narayana Murthy or Lasaran Tubrochem, who speak about the need for long working hours and things like that. And you add to that a lot of factors like very, very poor motivation, lack of growth opportunities, maybe no appropriate revision in the compensation because the IT market is seemingly undergoing a slowdown. The huge order books of these IT organizations are probably seeing a drop gradually, leading to a lot of pressure on their costs. And because of this, they probably aren't in a position to revise compensations this year. So accumulation of all these factors is becoming a body blow to the motivation of such a large workforce of employees. Like, for example, if the base number of an IT organization is 100, at least 30-40 of these employees are really kind of very, very worked up about these changes. I think the first step was coming back to the office, the mandate to come back to office, and the second step, or rather adding salt to injury, is the lack of growth opportunities, lack of appropriate compensation, lack of workplace hygiene, lack of whatever. I think, as I said in the beginning of this podcast, any individual employee is what an individual employee perceives as a grouse. He immediately vents it out loud and clear, makes a huge noise in the media, huge noise on social media, posts it very, very ungratefully on forums like LinkedIn, names his managers, names his previous organizations, names his supervisors, and just without bothering about the consequences of who it will hit and how it will hit, just resorts to what we now know as revenge quitting. And this trend is becoming a huge pain for Indian organizations. Probably Indian organizations aren't used to this style of brash employee quitting, or employees really, if you use a typical HR person's word, not so disciplined in terms of the way they resign from the organization and move to better responsibilities. So the only way corporates can handle it, or probably corporates can reduce incidences of revenge quitting, is to be extremely careful in handling this whole bunch of employees, and also making sure that they institutionalize a very, very strong and robust process of exit interviews. And in these exit interviews, I think probably these exit interviews can be a huge opportunity for these employees to vent their anger at the organization, and the organization's representatives who sit in these exit interviews should have the wisdom and sagacity to probably listen into whatever is told by these employees, whether they are facts or otherwise. I think that is the only way this is going to handle. That besides, of course, the entire policies of the organizations which are seeing a whole incidents of revenge quitting have to be revisited, be it their policies in terms of how they support commuting, how they support house rent allowances, etc. locally. If the employee is really struggling to reach his office in places like Bangalore, Chennai and Pune, whether cabs are being organized, those kind of softer employee hygiene issues. So a whole lot of things like this have to be attended by the HR system in the organization. If this is not done by the HR system in the organization, by the employee engagement team in the organization, unfortunately, these organizations are going to face the heat of revenge quitting at least for a year or two. There is absolutely no way about it. And in fact, in one of my earlier podcasts, I spoke about the big trends for 2025, where we spoke about silent resignations, quiet quitting, and silent hiring. We hadn't factored in revenge quitting then, but subsequently in the recent couple of weeks, we very, very clearly have seen that revenge quitting is becoming the order of the day, and probably looks like revenge quitting will beat all the other forms or big trends of 2025, which were discussed earlier. And to the specific question as to whether you will resort to revenge quitting, I'm not sure what you would say. I would still feel that irrespective of whatever your grouses are, it is better to probably have an honorable exit, move on from the present employer, seek a new role, and quit in a very, very honorable way. And as I always keep saying, make sure that you already have a couple of offers on hand, or at the minimal have one offer on hand. Accept the offer, go through the offer, accept the offer in all its terms and conditions, as well as make sure that whatever is written in letter and spirit is going to be agreed upon by the new employer, mainly the compensation part, the fixed compensation, the variable compensation. Additionally, what are the benefits and fringe benefits you will get, what are the other allowances you get. So the entire matrix of compensation of benefits, whether it is in tune with your expectation. If it is in tune your expectation, then go ahead, quit the present organization and move on. Revenge quitting probably will help you be in the limelight maybe for a very, very short time, but in the long run, for your career good, I think revenge quitting is of no consequence. It will not be of any help. It will only help you to have the limelight on you maybe for a few days or few weeks. Beyond that, nobody will care. That is my humble submission. I'm not sure if you have a different view about it, but as I said, revenge quitting has become a surprise hero of 2025 in terms of trend spotting. I'm sure you found this useful in terms of a quick understanding of what the revenge quitting is all about and why it is happening around. Feel free to share it with folks who you think will find it very, very interesting. I'll see you soon in another interesting podcast. Thanks for your time. All the best for your life and career ahead. Thank you. I'll see you soon.